It's been a big week in college basketball. We are wrapping up the regular season. We've had some smaller conferences begin their conference tournaments. We've had some tournaments completed. We've had our first two tickets punched to the NCAA tournament. The Knights of Fairleigh Dickinson, by getting the automatic bid in the Northeastern Conference due to Merrimack's ineligibility for this tournament, as they are still completing their transition to Division One. And we have the Redhawks of Southeast Missouri State by winning the Ohio Valley Conference over Tennessee Tech in thrilling fashion in overtime. One of the most exciting games of the season. And we have a couple more bids that will be won on Sunday. The Missouri Valley Conference and the A-Sun Conference. Now, it's time for a bracketology update. Now, once again, I have comparisons between Joe Lunardi and Jerry Palm, as these are two of the most popular bracketologists. So, Joe Lunardi's last four buys are NC State, Auburn, USC, and Rutgers. USC picked up a big win over Arizona State, a team that is on the bubble. Auburn, they picked up a win against Tennessee. Auburn has been a team that I feel like has been a bit shaky in the last month and a half. But Auburn is hanging on in the last four buys, according to a lot of the bracketologists. Now, Jerry Palm doesn't do the last four buys and next four out, so I'm just going to compare Lunardi's last four in and Jerry Palm's last four in. The last four in for Lunardi are Mississippi State. They lost to Vanderbilt today. Nevada, Wisconsin, and Penn State. His first four out are Arizona State, North Carolina, Utah State, and Michigan. So Lunardi is correct here to an extent. Although I think he sees what I see. I talked about it last week. I talked about how the tournament committee, they have a bias towards the Blue Bloods and the Big Ten. We saw it last year with Michigan. A lot of the people that I've listened to podcasts, I've seen their social media pages. A lot of people felt like Michigan did not belong in the tournament last year. They felt like a Texas A&M was more deserving. So I did say last week as well that I feel like North Carolina is going to get in, but the fact they lost to Duke today, I really thought they were going to get it done today against Duke, but they were on the losing end. But I don't think North Carolina has to win the ACC tournament to get in. I think if they can just win maybe two games and hope that we don't get any bid stealers, which bid stealers are always people to watch out for, as we usually get at least one or two, maybe even three every single year. Utah State, they're a smaller conference compared to Wisconsin, Penn State. So Mountain West, very smaller conference compared to the Big Ten. Plus, with the Mountain West being, I believe, 0-8 in the last 2-3 tournaments it is. Considering the Mountain West does not fare well in the Big Dance, I do think that will be in consideration for the committee. Michigan, they had opportunities recently. They had one against Illinois. They had an opportunity to beat Illinois, but they missed their chance. But they will get an opportunity against Indiana on the road. So if they can beat Indiana on the road today, by the time this gets uploaded, then I think Michigan, they could possibly sneak into the last four in. As Indiana, they're a strong opponent. And the Big Ten is one of the most stacked conferences in the entire country. So, the first four out for Jerry Palm are Wisconsin, Oklahoma State, North Carolina, Arizona State. So they both have Arizona State, North Carolina in the first four out. Arizona State, they've had two opportunities to pick up big wins against UCLA and USC this week. And they went over 2 this week. So now I think Arizona State, to have a chance, I think they have to make at least the Pac-12 tournament championship to just have a chance. And Lenardi's next 4 out are Clemson, Oklahoma State, Oregon, and Charleston, which Charleston, you can pretty much take them out of the picture because they have to win their conference tournament to get in this thing. But Texas Tech, Vanderbilt, Drake, Villanova, and Liberty are in consideration, according to Lenardi. But Liberty and Drake, they have to win their conference tournaments. Villanova has to win the Big East tournament. Vanderbilt, to get in, they have to win the SEC tournament. Texas Tech, they have to win the Big 12 tournament. So if you're a team like USC, Rutgers, Auburn, NC State, a team that's really not necessarily on the bubble, but on the bubble of having to play Tuesday or Wednesday night, the week of the tournament, in the first 4, you can't have Texas Tech, Vanderbilt, Villanova winning their conference tournaments. Although if there was a team that could be a bid stealer this year, Villanova is the top candidate. As Villanova, they've dealt with injuries throughout the year. But Villanova, despite being on the losing end today, they have been clicking in these last couple of weeks. So Villanova, they can be a bid stealer and they can win the Big East tournament. It's going to be a daunting task, but if there's a team that can get it done, I think it's Villanova. Texas Tech, the Big 12, that's going to be an unpredictable tournament. Any of them can win it. But I just feel like at the end of the day, it's going to be too stacked when you have teams such as Kansas and Texas and Baylor. I just think that the odds are just insurmountable for the Red Raiders. Which is a shame because in the preseason, I thought Texas Tech, they had Final Four upside. But you never know. If Texas Tech, they start to get hot and win the Big 12 tournament, then who knows? Because this tournament, I feel like, is going to possibly be one of the most unpredictable ones we've seen, or it could be the one in 2019 where it was a little bit more stagnant. I just think we're not going to get anything in between. Either we're going to see 3 1 seeds in the Final Four, or we're going to see 1 in the Final Four. I don't think we're going to get 2 or all 4 of them. I think it's going to be the case for one of those 2 scenarios. But I'm just saying that now. Of course, we don't know what the bracket looks like, as there isn't much in the bracket that is set in stone. We still know who the 1 seeds are going to be, although I really do think that the 1 seeds are going to be Alabama's the number 1 overall seed, even though they did come off the losing end today to Texas A&M. Houston, I think that UCLA could have a case for that 3rd 1 seed. And despite Kansas losing today, I think they're still slated to be the 1 seed. As if they win the Big 12 tournament, then they will definitely get that 1 seed. But let's look at who's all on the bubble, according to Jerry Palm. Arizona State, who went 0-2 this week. As I mentioned earlier, they pretty much have to win the Pac-12 tournament to get in. Well, they have to make the championship committee a chance, but I think they're going to have to win it to be in the tournament, as I have a feeling we're going to get at least maybe 2 bid stealers, because it tends to happen. Auburn, they picked up a big win against Tennessee today, and in their first game in the SEC tournament, they will take on Arkansas. So Auburn, a win against Arkansas, it can get them out of that bubble area on the last 4 bye line is what it is right now. Boise State, they're on the losing end today. Clemson, they beat up Notre Dame, which Notre Dame has not been good all season long. Iowa State, they had a huge win against Baylor today on the road. big win for Iowa State is Iowa State, they have been a team that I feel like has been playing their way out of the tournament. When this is all said and done, I have a feeling that Iowa State's probably going to be on the 6 or 7 line. I've seen some bracketologists put Iowa State maybe in the 5 or 6 line, but I think they're going to be on the 7 line on Selection Sunday. Memphis, they're on the bubble, but they have an opportunity to pick up a marquee win against Houston, the current number 1 team in the country. Michigan, they'll have an opportunity to redeem themselves after missing an opportunity against Illinois earlier this week, going on the road to Indiana, as I mentioned earlier. Mississippi State, they lost to Vanderbilt today. As Mississippi State, they were a team that they kind of flew under the radar a little bit. They've only recently been in the bubble conversation, but they take on Florida in their first game of the SEC tournament. For Mississippi State to get in, if they lost to Florida, I think that would seal their fate, I think. North Carolina, they, I think, have to win 2 games and hope there's no bid stealer, but you know there's going to be a bid stealer because it's March and it's madness. So North Carolina, I feel like they got to get to maybe the ACC championship game. Oklahoma State, they picked up a big win to end the regular season, and they take on Oklahoma in their first game of the Big 12 tournament. Oregon, they picked up a win today, but they're going to have to win the Pac-12 tournament to get in. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Oregon, if they can get their act together, they could also be a bid stealer. I believe they were a bid stealer in 2019 when they won the Pac-12 tournament. And they almost took down Virginia in the Sweet 16. Penn State, they will get an opportunity against Maryland to pick up a big win before the Big Ten tournament. Rutgers against Northwestern, a Northwestern team that has really surprised a lot of people this year, including myself, as they lost their top scorer from last season's North Carolina. But Northwestern, they are a team that they can fly under the radar in this tournament. USC, they picked up a big win against Arizona State, who was also in the bubble. Utah State, they won today. Vanderbilt, they beat Mississippi State. West Virginia coming up huge this week. West Virginia, I think they were one of the big winners this week as they picked up wins against Iowa State and they picked up another big win against Kansas State. So West Virginia, big week for them. Huge momentum going into the Big 12 tournament, and their first matchup is against Texas Tech. So if West Virginia beats Texas Tech, I think it's safe to say the Mountaineers, they are on the verge of getting completely into the field. And Wisconsin, they have an opportunity to pick up a win before the Big Ten tournament, try to get some momentum on the road against Minnesota. But I think for Wisconsin to get in, I think they have to win quite a few games in the Big Ten tournament. Although, since they're in the Big Ten, I do feel like the committee, they might be more lenient towards Wisconsin. Plus, Wisconsin, they do have history in March. And I do think that is something the committee does put into consideration. But now the stage is set for the final day of the regular season as we have Memphis and Houston playing. We've got a couple more bids that are going to be taken today. They will be won. And we look ahead to conference tournament week, as it is just the beginning of madness. Until next time, have a great day and take care.